the entire family is saved. So, but then it got to a point. I tell you the truth. There was this time during President Goodluck Jonathan's government, we saw a whole lot of diasporans, people who actually traveled, coming back because there was a ray of hope. A whole lot of things kept changing. In short, that time we have a huge investment from the diasporans. In short, at some point we were told that the diasporan contribution rose very high to the extent that it was almost competing with our GDP. Yes.
That's at some point. Under Goodluck Jonathan.
Under Goodluck Jonathan. And we saw a lot of, he actually brought in a lot of people from outside, like Nigerians who were doing very well. They came down to this place. You saw the likes of Okonjo-Iweala. We saw the likes of Obieze-Kwesili. All of them came back. In short, most of the people within his economic cycle, that's the team, were actually people from abroad. And they tried to do things right. But then, immediately after that, there was this switch. And a whole lot started happening.
From what year was this?
This should be from 2015 or thereabout.
Really?
That was, yes. That was
when the switch happened. Like the people coming back.
Immediately, Goodluck Jonathan lost the election.
Yes.
There was just something that happened. It triggered something. Anybody stands to disagree, but that is the truth. And then you see Nigerians, everybody became panicky.
Panic. Okay.
Yes, there was this panic and all of that. And then the economy started changing. The economy started changing. It was as if the economy was moving. That time, I think the economic indices was being quoted to a growth of about 5.something%. Even IMF quoted that Nigeria was among the fastest growing economy at that time.
Yeah. That's under Goodluck Jonathan.
Under Goodluck. I'm only explaining to you. So, but something just happened. And then we saw massive spending, as in spending like you. Of course, before the election, there was this impression that the man who was to come is a man, a no-nonsense man. So, of course, even the ones that even stole under President Goodluck Jonathan's administration, we saw them even bargaining to return their loot. But something just happened that we started seeing the people who were supposed to fight the looting, started looting back the looting, the loot.
But is it only economic reasons that's why Nigerians leave the country? Are there other reasons why they leave the country?
I tell you the truth, if the economy of Nigeria is working very fast, why would anybody want to go to a place where he will be enslaved or even be working? Some of them can't even work as nannies in Nigeria. But when they travel abroad, they go as far as working in the mosques.
Okay, so
monks.
Yes,
it's a lucrative job to work.
No, what I mean is
in Nigeria.
What I mean, I'm not saying it to despise or to spite this thing, but you know things that you
not naturally do.
They're here,
you
but
go
because
there to do
they go as far as when they go abroad. If they tell you terrible things Nigerians do to survive.
You mentioned because if you check our international airport, the influx of people leaving in relativity to the people coming in, the ratio isn't good at all. Now, and you mentioned looting. Are there facts to really check this looting that happened?
Maybe we might not be able to, because there are agencies, government agencies, whose job is to investigate these matters. But of course, whatever we are saying are things that the common man knows about. Let me give you an instance. Why would a lawmaker in recent time in Plateau State buy one of the most expensive cars for the daughter who just graduated from secondary school? Who pays that lawmaker? Is it not our money that they used to pay him? So which other evidence do you need for looting? Because obviously, when you check the amount of money he's being paid and the car, his resources cannot afford it. That is why I feel that at some point, it's a pity that we are taking this route. The fact remains that there was high expectation. The essence of people trying to vote against President Goodluck Jonathan was that there are certain lootings that he didn't really tackle the way he was supposed to tackle. But the economy was moving fine. So everybody felt that Mr. Discipline, Mr. Integrity should come and take over, and then things are going to work better. Yeah. But it became worse. And as if it's a trend. I remember the words of Goodluck Jonathan. He said there's a way he put it, but I am not quoting him verbatim. He said, you will look back and wish that I was still the president. Well. And truly, if I look back and seeing the number of persons who have left this country, I tell you, only in UK, only going to UK, you saw that scandal where a Nigerian came out to say that Nigerians forge dependents to be able to have them come to UK. People were paying as much as 15 million to leave Nigeria. 15 million, we're talking about almost $10,000.
Yeah, I mean, you are also someone who is affiliated to one of the international airlines. That's the Ethiopian Airlines. Everybody knows you to be that individual to go to when you want to fly abroad, especially in Enugu. But I wanted to find out from you, according to the statistics that you have, is it only about economic Japa that is happening? Are there other reasons why Nigeria is Japan? And how much of the economic instability in Nigeria is making people leave the country?
All right. One aspect is economic reasons, but again, security reasons. That's another aspect. At some point, we'll notice that people are being kidnapped. Just as in anytime there was one that happened very close to me. I was just driving and I saw people running. And then I parked by the side because, of course, I need to secure myself. And the next thing I saw, a man who was actually bundled into his car, bundled into another car. And the car parked there for a long time before his people came and picked the car.
Where was this?
This thing happened around Achale Out.
In Enugu?
Inside Enugu. So the truth about it is that in as much as some of these things are being addressed by this present administration, because this thing happened around during that election. And of course, I was told that the man was kidnapped. So if these guys can come into the city
during the day,
this happened around between 6 and 7 in the evening. I think he was coming back from work and he wanted to buy something. So he went into the store to buy something, and then they picked him. They came with keke or something like that. They came, pick him, and then put him in another vehicle, and the car was just parked there.
Wow.
So, but that is not even what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that at some point, people's lives were being threatened. We started receiving calls. People would just call you and say, so person, please make transfers and all of that. If not, we are coming for you. It happened. Okay, look at what happened in Ladipo. Of course, we knew that the security agents tackled it. But before they were able to handle that matter in Lagos, they have been able to kidnap people. And people paid as far as 1 billion. Do you know how much? 1 billion just to be out of kidnappers' den. So when such thing happens, what people do, those people who have the means, is to relocate their family.
So just
they relocate their family.
Just to express and put so that we don't say it. What are the things that happened in Ladipo?
Of course, the news is everywhere.
No, we may know, but just for
yes,
the viewer.
What actually happened was that I was told from the news, we got to know that a special squad there was this trend of kidnappings that happened. I think some people moved, they said they moved from a certain part of the country to Lagos. Yes, to kidnap certain wealthy individuals, especially importers. They will just write to you and tell you, keep our money. We'll come and pick you. And then, as far as they will even fulfill it, on that day they will show up. They were so dreaded. So, but on a particular day, they said the commissioner of police had to set up a TAC team that actually tracked them and monitored them. And even from the news, they also said that someone was planted in their midst who kept giving an informant. So when they came to strike on that particular day, of course, they were caught, shot dead, and then I think one escaped with a bullet wound, and then they caught one alive. And even there's a speculation around it that one of a notable actor and a producer was also among the people who were killed. So you can see the trend growing. And then the other day, you could literally see while you are driving along the expressway, you just see everybody scampering for safety. And then the next thing we'll hear is that kidnappers have taken a whole lot of, sometimes 30. And I'm wondering, a complete luxury bus will be evacuated, and then prices they are negotiating. So apart from economic reasons, security reasons, then social influences. Of course, when you look around and you find out that Mama Nkechi's son came back and built upstairs, and then your mother will even be the one telling you, go and do what your mates are doing. So you could see the social pressure. So three things I mentioned. Then another thing is that people also travel. Let's not take it that it's only when people want to Japa. Some people would want to travel because they want to further their education. So their career improvement and all of that.
So, you know, taking you from what you just said some people might travel to further their education.
Sure.
And I know in Nigeria there are schools. So is it that we can't further our education here? Why Japa? No. Why travel out of the country to further your education? Are our schools dead or closed?
Actually, we now see a trend happening. It's quite, the whole thing is happening all around and is affecting all facet of this economy. Be it educational system. Our educational system has gone so low to the extent that people pay their way through. You can imagine someone who is going through an undergraduate course and never showed up in school only the day he's graduating or she is graduating.
And the person is given a certificate?
Of course. A popular content creator came for this thing and also mentioned it. Say, I never sat for any this thing. And I got my certificate. I paid my way through, whether paying in cash or paying in kind. A female content creator said it. I didn't say it. So the truth about it is that...
Can you mention name?
I wouldn't be able to mention name. But then it is all in the public. Then another thing that also, she actually at some point came back and apologized and said that she didn't mean what she said. But the truth about it is that there is no slip of tongue.
There's no smoke without fire.
You know, there's no stopping this movement of people from one place to another.
And then, sorry, before you say something, now even some lecturers, now before you even after writing their course, would say that if you don't pay the course rep, because they usually use the course rep to do whatever they want to do. If you don't pay, I have intervened in a matter in one of the top schools in Enugu here, where somebody called me and said that the parents cannot afford such amount of money. And they said that their school is to be accredited. And the student ought to pay about almost 80,000 naira each. And I said, how many are you in that your course? And he said about 150 in that your department. He said about 150. I said 80,000 times 150. Do you know how much it is? They said they want to upgrade the lab because accreditors are coming to their school. Is it the responsibility of students to upgrade the lab? So those are the issues.
Right. I mean, it will not be entirely one form of discussions, especially as it concerns the negative sides of, leaving the country. There may be some positives because even in the newspapers this morning, we saw that diasporans have remitted within 3 months over $1 billion.
Yeah, sure.
So I was just saying, being cheeky about it, it means that there are more people suffering in Nigeria if diasporans are remitting that amount of money into the Nigerian coffers, because of course they are sending it to their sisters, their brothers, their sons and their daughters. So I'm just wondering, in the light of that, isn't that an advantage of some sort? Yes, we could lose, some good guys who are mentally okay when it comes to health, education, and all of those. But wouldn't it be an advantage, sending monies to help the economy of some sort?
I would disagree with you on that, because now when a country starts losing their best brains, because the truth about it is that you see a situation whereby a medical consultant, a doctor to the level of a consultant, decides to leave. In short, at some point we were told that we have a shortfall of medical consultants because most of them have relocated abroad. So when you do that, it's going to impact on our health system because you are now going to have people who are less experienced to handle certain important matters. You see people dying, and then you see a situation whereby we also saw researchers in our research institute. Most of them they have actually relocated abroad. So if we no longer have an avenue for some people to actually apply what they have learned in school, to research, to see how best we tackle certain issues in our society, especially health-wise, like we are having the food security shortage. There are people whose job is to figure out what do we do in order to go away from this food security challenge. But the fact remains that some of these good hands have relocated abroad. So when you start having what we call brain drain, the economy begins to suffer in every aspect. Because those people who are supposed to help build and also help train new persons, like the consultants I mentioned, they were supposed to help nurture new set of people who are going to take over from them. When we no longer have it, we now have inadequate supply of manpower in the system.
So, you mentioned brain drain. Can you marry brain drain and national development?
Yes, of course. Whether you like it or not, America thrives in using their best hands.
Well, I thought you were going to say American thrives in draining brain.
No. Of course, what they do is that they go around the world looking for the best brain. There was this story, I can't confirm the story, that I heard. Somebody actually did internet fraud or this thing.
Yahoo.
And then FBI came to look for him. And they picked him, of course. At some point, his family was even also picked.
Yes.
Because they want to know what this guy knows. We need it. At some point, I see government officials saying, if they want to travel, let them travel now. We still have more people. No, nobody does it. I tell you, at some point in India has the highest supply of IT experts. Go and check it in the world. In America, top CEOs of blue chip companies, 80% are Indians of Indian origin. They might have become Americans, but you trace it. But this is a deliberate attempt by their government. They decided to upscale the trainings in their IT sector. And today, India feeds the entire world with IT experts. And that one is understood. If government have a policy to train a certain individuals in order to send them abroad and then start making money, because of course when you go abroad you will send them money abroad, but this one is an unfortunate movement, an undecided movement. So you didn't plan it, and then when such thing happen, you can't really tell as much as people are going to remit.
Okay, I want you to jump on this. I will just quote him. A quote by Dangote. He said, import dependency is equivalent to importing poverty and exporting jobs.
Thank you very much. I also heard where one of the government officials said, okay, the plan for us to address this food insecurity issue is to import a certain amount of grains. And of course, we also set up a livestock ministry. And I'm like, excuse me, you can't keep rubbing balm on an open injury. You need to tackle this thing from the roots. What has the agricultural ministry? Because I tell you, there's a plan they are going to put in place and ensure that the farmers have gone back to their farm. Highest within a year. We should have a yield. These things are not rocket science. How long does it take grain to grow in Nigeria? At some point, we also know that at some point we are having the granite pyramid. Corns were everywhere. Yam to a surplus level. But when Agatu was attacked in Benue State, this is where they have the highest cultivation of yam. In short, we saw it in the video where a truckload of yam was burnt down. Don't you think that there is something fishy if they are attacking all the food basket of this country? Somebody is trying to create scarcity.
Somehow.
And we are not seeing it from that angle. The only thing we are seeing is farmers, herders fight. It doesn't take a rock science to solve it. Before now, there is something they call grazing routes. Why can't they maintain those grazing routes? Or we advance what we are doing and then begin to have ranching as a solution to this.
All right. I mean, this is an interesting conversation. I want us to move over to some solutions now.
Yeah.
Is it solvable? Is it surmountable? Because I really don't know. Somebody makes up to 15, 20 million naira now. They're not thinking of investment. They're not thinking of, putting something down at least, or maybe even building a shop or a house or something. They're thinking, how do I use this money and leave the country? Like, I'm wondering if you, for instance, as someone who is a consultant, if you were to advise someone who has 15 million naira between leaving the country and investing in the country, which would you give the person and why?
Actually, let me start with this. At some point in my life, I decided to relocate. I actually stayed abroad. I relocated. But when I came in, my friends were asking me if you are going up or you are coming down. Of course, I know what I wanted. The truth was that I came back. I have had stints in tourism development in Sao Tome and Principe. And in the course of it, I now realized that a governor who is interested in tourism came into Enugu. That's His Excellency Sullivan Chime. And I came back. I felt I have something to give into the society. No matter the fact that I am not going to earn as much as I was earning, the fact is that people are naturally patriotic if you give them reason to be patriotic.
Okay.
There's an adage that says, pat my back, I pat your own. Pat my back, I pat your own. The fact remains that if you show someone how much you care, if you don't show someone how much you care, that person doesn't care how much you have. That is the truth. So we must come to that point where every individual, no matter highly placed or lowly placed in this Nigeria, feels that sense of belonging. Because the issue here is that they only make ministers as a situation whereby they settle some of their cronies. You see the son of so senator. They just pick him just to settle the father. So nobody, the son of the non-senators, will not feel any sense of belonging. So they don't owe Nigeria anything because Nigeria never contributed to their well-being.
So if somebody has 50 million naira comes to meet you, how would you advise them?
The only thing I'm going to tell the person, the truth is that I can encourage the person as much as I can because I'm staying here. I tell you the truth, at some point I also thought about Japa.
Again?
Yes, because the truth is that when you are no longer appreciated within the environment where you are, what would you do? You go to where you are appreciated. But now, coming to his question, if someone is to, there are several businesses you can go into, but not to forget that there are certain instances that could discourage you. If somebody like Dangote, who has invested up to $1 billion, will say, I regret making that move. Is it the person with 15 million?
It's actually $20 billion.
No, I'm just giving you as much as. So you can imagine when our government has taken so lightly people's contribution, patriotic contribution. I'm not saying that everything they did was fine. I don't know the platform on which he negotiated. But the fact is that there are certain impressions you don't create to the people. I tell you, a whole lot of people lost it when they heard that man complaining. And then having a government agency coming to say that what you are producing in Nigeria is fake. No. There are things you don't say in the public.
So are you now?
So if I am to encourage somebody who has 15 billion, I am going to leave that person. Let that person not say that I'm the one that told him. Because if the business fails, the person is going to hold you responsible. I'm going to tell the person my options.
Which are?
The option is to invest in Nigeria, being a patriotic person I am. The second option is if you have a way to Japa, you can Japa, but don't say I told you. Then the third option is to weigh the two options. Maybe stay outside and be investing back in Nigeria.
No, because you mentioned a lot of things. You talked about insecurity.
Yes.
Which is, if 20 billion is insecure, Your 15 million isn't gonna. In fact, when you lose it, it looks as if it wouldn't even be reckoned with. Meanwhile, it could be all you have, right? Now, I want to believe you answered the question in some way, but if you are, I know you have more than 50 million, but I'm just saying, would you still invest knowing the amount of insecurity in Nigeria at the moment? Speculated insecurity in Nigeria. Would you invest 1 million naira in Nigeria?
Actually, the only angle of investment I see thriving in Nigeria is real estate. People now buy lands. Sorry to say that, but then that is what it is. Why it's like that is because there looks like a trend moving towards acquiring landed property, and because it's growing, and then people in the diaspora are also remitting money. When they are remitting money, they're not saying, "Mama, go and chop." They say, "Invest for me in property." Okay. So when you're able to get the money, and then someone else comes and feels that, of course, there are developmental projects going on, like we are seeing in Enugu State. You see that the government is trying to open up the hinterlands. So maybe you were opportune to buy land around those areas that such developments are driving to. The rates or the value of such property increases. Because of course, there are things that will make people start heading to that place. But secondly, I believe that there are consumables. Nigerians, in as much as everything is going very high, people still eat. People still wear clothes. You will not tell me that because the economy is not fine, you won't look as beautiful as you are. So you can as well invest on fast-moving goods. Every day, before I left my house, in order not to embarrass you, I brushed my teeth. Really? I freshened my breath. Yeah. I took my bath. I also had my creams that I had to put on. So all of those things are things that when you want to, but don't forget that we have a government nowadays who has also focused on taxing all taxable. So that can also discourage someone who would want to go into business.
In line with government, what measures do you think the government should employ to be able to address this Japa syndrome? What measures?
I think the government should pay more attention on human capital development. There is something my very great mentor, His Excellency P2B, said. He said there are investments you cannot lose, especially that of human capital development. Spend time on building people. I mentioned earlier India. And I tell you, India was able to go out. At some point, we were told that the poverty-stricken community are seen in places like India. You will mention India, China, and all of Bangladesh. But these countries have left being underdeveloped country. They are now developed country. So what did they do differently? What they did was that they cut wastage. They cut down on wastage. They also ensure that they invest on human capital.
Well, the government of the day will say they are doing it. After all, they are giving conditional cash transfers.
So what is conditional cash transfer to somebody who don't even have the ability to manage funds? When you give to them, let me tell you what they do. They go to spend it, squander it. Why? Because nemo dat quod non habet. Nobody can give what he does not have. You must train and nurture their mind to be able to. Someone who who doesn't have the capacity to handle 1,000 naira, and you are transferring 50,000 to that person. Obviously, the person is going to waste it. So what we are going to do is what Bangladesh did. They created cooperatives. You don't give people money directly. What you do is you give money to a cooperative who have made up their mind how they are going to spend the money. Then put an expert who is going to also monitor the way that disbursement
happens.
So you can imagine where the minister for something humanitarian manage or whatever. But the only thing I see in that ministry is a cash out ministry, where people transfer all the money that was transferred into private accounts. And then we are talking about 200 and something billion. We are talking about 600 billion, and then we are taking it as a kid glove. This was supposed to go into supporting the small scale industry, small, medium scale industries. So how do you expect such economy? So what we are going to do is to cut down on wastage, and also ensure that anybody that takes what does not belong to him is brought to book.
Okay.
How is that even possible? Because they're the ones who
it
are
is
even there.
Definitely very impossible, because now when you see, look at what is happening in Kogi. We have a lot of allegations where EFCC wants to arrest somebody, an ex-governor, and is being protected by security agents. And even a governor, his own governor, his stooge he kept there, came and picked him up. And then nobody has said anything about.
No, but the truth is, people might say that you're asking me to wash off the oil from my hand, the oil stain, and to shake you. But the same hand you want to shake me with is dirty with crude oil stain. So how does the washing, happen?
Now, the truth about it is that at every given time in our life, leaders, change begins with leadership. If you set a good structure for that change to happen, everybody will have no option than to fall in.
But there are people who would fight against that particular
change. Of course, it's going to happen, but then stick to it. Let me give you an instance. Late wonderful woman, Dr. Dora Akonyele, said that my sister died of fake drugs. I will not allow any other Nigerian die of fake drugs. This lady fought it. Nobody, because the drug cartel is seen as one of the most powerful cartels you can think of.
They wanted to assassinate her.
Yes, of course, at some point. But this lady fought it even to the last. I'm not going to say much, but see it, a determined heart. At some point, every drug that is sent to Nigeria, you can easily, that was where we can now have scratch this number, where if you buy drug, you verify it.
So, okay, so for you, I need you to wrap up, because I can see you have a whole lot.
So much to say.
Can you wrap up your thoughts? Because I was about to ask you the question of, if they invest on human power and insecurity is still on the high, how do people gain trust to Nigeria?
Let me tell you the truth.
In Nigeria, rather, I beg your pardon.
The insecurity is not caused from foreign. It's not caused by foreigners.
Yes,
they are within us. We know them. If you do your due diligence, let me give you an instance. Last week, I had an encounter with a security agent who slapped me 6 times. I'm still taking up that matter. I didn't fight him, but I give you an instance when security agents who are supposed to, we say, police is your friend. For you to be able to get to the root of certain matters, you need to be very close to the people. They give you a certain level of information.
Yes.
But when you have now arrogated certain powers to yourself and become unfriendly, the people who are supposed to give you the information will not give you. They will even risk you.
Sorry, so did you loot Enugu, but why was this?
We will come to that, because I am still doing my work.
Okay.
When I'm done with the work, maybe we'll have to tell the world what actually, because I think that to a large extent, we must begin to address certain issues. Yes. Now, when I mentioned, you said, how do we address insecurity? In human capital development, let me tell you, when people have a sense of belonging, they no longer see themselves as becoming part of crime. I tell you, there's a level of education you will acquire. You wouldn't see yourself carrying gun. I tell you, or go into crime. Right. But the fact remains that we will keep developing our young people. When our young people are not developed, they sought to go into what we call self-help. And self-help is what lands us into what we see as level of increase in insecurity.
Okay, Mr. Wilson, many thanks for your input, really. I mean, I think we'll just keep discussing about this Japa syndrome, because it's something that is here with us, and it will not go away anytime soon, even though we wish it does. I want to say a very big thank you, sir, for coming.
Thank you very much.
Truly appreciate your input.
Thank you.
All right, we're back shortly after this short break. We're headed for a very, very important Vox Pop, and it's about Japa syndrome. Stay with us.
First of all, I would like to talk about the government. Like